there are a lot of doubts surrounding Deion Sanders in Colorado after their 4-8 season in 2023. But I think people should be a little more bullish on the Colorado Buffaloes and have some excitement.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. And who doesn't love free things? Let's talk about the excitement surrounding the Colorado football program. We all know that Deion Sanders is doing things a bit different in Boulder. And we all know some people hate it, some people love it. But either way, y'all are going to watch it. And that's just kind of been the Deion Sanders mantra the entire time in Boulder. Well, while a lot of people are writing them off and saying that Deion Sanders is already going to fail in Boulder and it's a failed experiment, the loyal Buffs fans have shown that they are all in on Deion Sanders in Colorado. And they showed this by supporting the program. And they did this, let me explain. They did this in the sense of buying all the season tickets for the second year in a row. Now, you're probably like, oh, that happens everywhere. Every program in college football sells out their season tickets. They don't, or at least not all of them. Colorado has only had their season tickets sell out 10 times. 2 of the times were because one Mr. Coach Prime was on the sidelines. They obviously sold out last year, which was his first season on the job. And now they've sold out this year, which is his second season on the job. And so last year, by the way, was the first time in 27 years. So I wasn't even alive the last time they had sold out, that Colorado sold out of their season tickets. And it was the first time in program history that the entire season was sold out. And this year are the only times when season tickets were sold out before August, this year and last year. So Colorado fans are clearly bought into what Coach Prime is doing in Boulder. I have a few different reasons that people should be excited. If you're not someone who's excited for Colorado football, excited for what Deion Sanders is bringing to the table, I have 3 reasons for you to be excited. And I'm going to tell you, and if you're not excited by the end of my speech or my little tangent here, I'll be pretty shocked because Coach Prime is doing things different, and that's okay. We don't all have to be traditionalists in college football. Let's dive into the 3 reasons why you should be excited and maybe consider attending a Buffs game or getting some season tickets, if you will, because Colorado is going to be must-watch in 2024. Starting off with the revamped team, just in general. If you like football, you like X's and O's, you like player personnel stuff, Colorado has a brand new team in a sense. They brought in almost 40 transfers this year after bringing in over 50 last year. It was a huge deal last season because Coach Prime told all of the 2022 roster, hey, hit the road. We don't need you. We're bringing in some luggage. It's Louis. We're bringing in your replacements, and we are hoping to replace you and win some football games. Now, a lot of the guys that he brought in didn't pan out. There were some that did, like Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, Shedeur Sanders, Jimmy Horn, Xavier Weaver. But then there was also guys like Bishop Thomas or I don't want to single out guys for not performing, but Kendrick Breedlove or guys like that where Jaquez Robinson, where they come from big programs like Florida State, Alabama, Ole Miss, and they just didn't pan out. And so whether that's a development issue, whether that's a sort of lack of, whether that was a talent assessment issue, Colorado lost quite a few guys that they brought in last year. So they bring in a whole new portal class this year, which it's not ranked as high because last year's was number 1. But I think it's worlds different. I think if these 2 teams, these 2 portal classes, could somehow take the field and play against one another, this year's class would probably beat last year's by 30 points. They're better in the trenches. They're better skill position players. There's just better talent all around. So, better talent. Check out the roster. Storyline. The biggest storyline of them all is Coach Prime. It's kind of under pressure in the sense that he wants to contend for something. This is his year to show that he can make it work in Boulder. And you're probably like, that's not fair. And I don't disagree. I think 2 years to judge a coach that's taking over a program that was 1-11 and one of the worst in college football for the past decade, that's a lot of pressure. And I'm not saying that he deserves to live up to this pressure, but he has declared that they could be contending for a playoff. He has declared that they can make it to the Big 12 title game. And he also has one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He also has one of the best players overall in the country in Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. They are 2 of the top 100 players in the country, 2 of the top 30 players in the country based off On3's rankings of the top 100 players. So if he can't win with these guys, is it ever going to happen? So there's a lot of pressure that a lot of people aren't realizing that Colorado needs to win, because if they don't, it's going to be like, okay, what is the move now? You've built this roster through the portal. You haven't been recruiting the high school ranks at the clip that most programs are in terms of quantity of players. He's gotten some quality recruits, but he's not getting a lot of high school recruits. So what is the next move? So there's some pressure there. And then the third reason, they are kind of viewed as a middle of the pack team. And realistically, with all the talent that they brought in, this is a team that could kind of push for a Big 12 title. When the end of September, early October rolls around, wouldn't surprise me if Colorado's kind of making some noise, beating teams that they aren't supposed to beat or beating teams that they aren't expected to beat, because Coach Prime brought in some talent. He brought in new coaching staff, which that's one of the things I admire about him. I don't know if I always admire when he does these or makes these decisions, but if he sees a problem, he's going to address the problem. He saw a problem with Sean Lewis, and while Sean Lewis got a head coaching job elsewhere, I don't imagine that he would have been back regardless after being demoted in the middle of the season last year. I think there was a problem with Charles Kelly. Now, Charles Kelly left for what I would most would consider a better job for him, an Auburn job, the Auburn defense coordinator job. He's an Auburn guy, SEC roots, so better job for him. But he brings in a new defense coordinator, Robert Livingston, NFL experience. That's what he wanted. He brings in Phil Loadhall, offensive line experience at Oklahoma, NFL experience. Boom. He brings in Warren Sapp, NFL Hall of Famer, a lot of experience as a player, none as a coach. But he brings in all these guys who have NFL experience, brings in a mixture of everything that was going wrong last season was addressed in one way or another. And so I admire that for Coach Prime. And I do think that Colorado is going to surprise some people with the games that they're winning next season, because I don't want to say the Big 12 is better than the Pac-12, because it's not. But I'm also not going to say that the Big 12 doesn't have some talented teams. And there are some teams that people need to look out for next season. And I do think that Coach Prime has sort of the foundation to surprise some people. You guys comment below, what is the number one reason you are most excited about Colorado in 2024? And we could kind of go over that in the comment section and discuss, because I want to see why you guys are excited about the Coach Prime experiment in year two. Does it work out? Does it not? Let me know what you guys think. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some more shade at Colorado's quarterback situation and why I think it's way off the mark. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. It helps you find professionals you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make the process easier. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege, or post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. I want to thank you guys for all the support that you give me. We're on the quest for 6,000 subscribers before the season. I think we could get there. Make sure to share this with a friend, share this with your mom, share it with a dog. It doesn't matter. Share it with someone so that way we could bond together. Also, I have something really cool for you guys to check out. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Had to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day, bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news. Streaming 24/7 on YouTube for free on Amazon Fire TV channel's app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. Okay, let's dive in. We're talking about the latest sort of shade at Colorado's quarterbacks. Now, the shade prior to this had been coming from Gavin Cold, former backup quarterback. He shaded Shedeur Sanders for not spending his NIL money on him and other walk-ons, and for not talking to him and coaching him up. I talked about this on Friday. You guys should go check it out. I gave you my opinion on what I think this is, my opinion on the whole situation. Now, I don't think Shedeur Sanders is necessarily in the wrong. I just think that Gavin Cold threw some unnecessary shade and kind of burnt a bridge. And I look at it as if you were leaving for another job. In your job interview at your next job or next potential job, you don't go, I left this job because this person was this person was that, and the job itself was this. No, that's not professional, and I kind of weighed in on that on Friday, so you guys should go check that out. But we were talking about a little shade from one Mr. Pete Thamel from ESPN. So Pete Thamel was talking about the issues that Colorado has on the College Game Day podcast, and he kind of highlighted the quarterback room. And he says, as we've seen, it's hard for Colorado to have a backup quarterback, mainly because Deion came in and insulted most of the ones that were in the room and scared them off. He said, who wants to go in there and back up the coach's son? You're not going to play. And then he said, you have essentially the worst offense line in major college football last year. Shedeur Sanders gets sacked, I believe, 52 times. I think Old Dominion actually did give up more sacks than Colorado, but they were atrocious. So he was running scared all year and eventually got hurt, which hurt them even more. He said that unit, if they're going to make progress from 4-8, it's that unit. So I kind of look at this and I can understand the general sort of like sentiment of like Colorado doesn't have the best quarterback situation behind Shedeur. I would agree. I think I would say the two quarterbacks that they brought in, which is Walter Taylor and Destin Wade, and then the transfer portal, Walter Taylor being from Kentucky, Destin Wade being from Vanderbilt. And I look at them and I'm like, they don't wow me. They didn't wow me in the spring game, and in-game action, we haven't seen much from them. You know who did kind of wow me, or at least wowed me enough, was Ryan Staub. And I have to fully disagree with Pete Thamel's take. Now, I do agree that as a quarterback, when the head coach comes and he says he already has a starting quarterback, I probably won't want to stick around either, but I don't think that Colorado's quarterback situation is any different from most programs around the country. Now, if you're going to single out programs like Georgia, Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, who have quarterbacks for days because those guys all just want to play for those prestigious universities and don't care that there's 3 other 4 or 5-star guys waiting in the wings, I'm going to tell you that's not what I'm talking about. But if you go look at a program like USC, for instance, or UCLA, or even Oregon's a little different because they just got another 5-star, but Oregon last year, not a lot of programs have a 5-star waiting in the wing. Not every program has Arch Manning waiting his turn. Not every program has Dante Moore waiting his turn, Jaden Rashada waiting his turn. Like Brock Vandergriff, Georgia quarterback, had to transfer. He's a 5-star recruit, had to transfer because he was kind of in that weird phase where it was like Stetson Bennett and JT Daniels, and then Carson Beck came along, beat him out for the job, and it was like, okay, now he just wasn't going to get a shot. And so he was like, do I wait another year while they're continuing to bring in other quarterbacks that the coach may want to play over me, or do I go get a fresh start somewhere else? So I have to disagree with his take on the quarterback situation. Now, if he was to say Colorado's backup quarterbacks aren't as good as Shedeur Sanders, which I don't think any backup quarterback in the country is as good as their starter, I would agree, because that's just how it works. If he was better, he'd be the starter. It's as simple as that. But I do think that, obviously, and this isn't a hot take by any means, this isn't like a main problem for Colorado. Like, the way it's presented is Colorado is like, it's being presented as a team that has struggles finding backup quarterbacks. And it's like, do they? Like, are they counting on their quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, to be healthy, to be available, and to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country, like he was for the most part all of last season? So I don't really understand this criticism of Colorado's quarterback room. If your whole argument is to say that Colorado's backup quarterbacks aren't as good as other programs who, say, are able to kind of stack 4- and 5-star guys, then I don't disagree. But go find me a program like in the Big 12, for instance. Let's just think of a program right now. We'll go with, let's see, Kansas State, for instance. They had Will Howard, who was kind of always the next guy up and never the guy. He couldn't beat Adrian Martinez out for the job, but eventually kind of took it from him at the end of the season. And then he was a starter. And then Avery Johnson came in and was kind of like, they took the job from him. Avery Johnson is from Kansas, and it was clear that he was taking the job. So obviously, if Kansas State had another top quarterback right now, I don't know if you'd want to wait behind Avery Johnson. Not everyone has that high caliber recruit that's willing to come and compete and also stick around when he doesn't win the starting job right away. And so that would be my rebuttal to the sort of criticism of Colorado's backup quarterbacks. And I do think Ryan Staub is being severely overlooked. I thought he did quite well against Utah. I think the Washington State game was sort of an unfair circumstance for him or Gavin Cole to be thrown into because they probably got 3 reps the entire week. Like, they probably were not getting the starting reps at all because Shedeur Sanders was healthy at that point. So it's like, why would we give the backup quarterbacks reps when we don't expect them to play at all? And so, yeah, I don't fully agree with this criticism. You guys comment below. How's Colorado's quarterback situation? Now, if we're talking about in the future, I don't think Colorado's starting quarterback is on the roster. Obviously, I think Shedeur is going to the NFL next year, and I do think that they are going to be in the mix for Julian Lewis or other top quarterback recruits or transfers. I don't think the quarterback that starts next year for Colorado is on the roster right now, but that's just my take. You guys comment below what you think about Colorado's quarterback situation, and we can discuss it in the comment section. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the 3 or 4 games that are must win for Colorado in 2024. Otherwise, their season could get a bit difficult. This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by our sponsors over at Yahoo Finance. Now, let me tell you about my sponsors over at Yahoo Finance because they got everything you guys need. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all of your investment and retirement accounts in one place? With Yahoo Finance, you could consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. Let's get straight to the point. You want to grow your portfolio to deal with the rising costs of inflation, to pay off your debt or your mortgage, pretty much anything that's standing in your way of financial freedom, right? Well, with Yahoo Finance, you can get access to the news, data, and the tools that you need in order to reach that financial freedom. When it comes to your financial future, you think that you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now, you need to take all those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses, Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. They are the #1 financial destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage accounts for unified view of your wealth, including 401k and other investments. A comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to look at your wealth in its entirety. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on the way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Want to thank you guys for tuning in, subscribing, sharing with your friends, sharing with your family. That's how we grow the show, and that's how we have the most fun. Greg McElroy, ESPN analyst, talked about games that he said are must win for Colorado, and there are 4. There's 4 of them, and I agree with every single one of them. And this is why, and I'll tell you why. First of all, the games are North Dakota State, which is week 1, Nebraska the following week, Colorado State the following week, and then Cincinnati, which is in the middle of the season. And you're probably like, those games are must win. Why? Well, Colorado's schedule gets a bit difficult. You look at even the North Dakota State game, Colorado's only favored by 7.5. Nebraska is going to be a tight one. Colorado State played them really close last year. Cincinnati was the worst team in the Big 12 last year, and they still should not be taken lightly. So if you're Colorado, why are these must-win games? Well, your goal is to make it to a bowl game. I think that's the realistic goal. I know Coach Prime is talking about the playoff and the Big 12 championship, but a realistic goal is the bowl game. If you don't win at least 3 of those games, it will get difficult. Excuse me. You look at Colorado's schedule, and let's just run through it real quick. I have it in front of me. You look at all these teams, and it's like, okay, all these teams, or not all of them, but a majority of these teams can make a run for the Big 12. And if you're Colorado, you want to be making a run to the Big 12. So they start off with North Dakota, travel to Lincoln, travel to Fort Collins, Colorado to take on Nebraska, then Colorado State. They come back for their home game against Baylor, which is homecoming. Then they hit the road and head to Florida, which UCF is going to be a very solid team. I think all these teams, there's not elite teams in the Big 12, but they're all solid teams. I wouldn't be surprised if there's majority of the Big 12 makes a bowl game. So then you have a bye week after UCF. You play number 20 Kansas State. Then you play number 11 Arizona on the road, which both of those teams are going to be really good and contending for a Big 12 title. Then you play Cincinnati, who, if you don't win this game, it's going to get more difficult to get to bowl eligibility because you play at Texas Tech and Lubbock, which Texas Tech is probably going to be a dark horse contender for the Big 12 this year. I know they were kind of expected to do that last season, but I do think that they'll build off of it. They return some talent at running back and all over the place, and so they're going to be a good team. They landed some good wide receivers in the portal, so Texas Tech, don't sleep on them. Then number 10, Utah, who's the favorite to win the conference. At number 22, Kansas, who, if Jalen Daniels is healthy, they could be the Big 12 winner. And then Oklahoma State, number 17 in the country. They were runner-up in the Big 12 last year. So those 4 games, if you win those, it means you have to win 2 out of your next 8 to make a bowl game. And that's the situation that Colorado was in last year. They won 3 games and had to win 1 of their next 9. And they just couldn't, or 2 of their next 9. Wow, math is hard. 3 of their next 9. And they just couldn't do it. So I think the point that Greg here is making is that if you don't win at least these 4 games, making a bowl game and beating any one of those teams who are contending for a Big 12 title, it's going to be inherently difficult. And I think he's very much spot on. I do think that Colorado's schedule kind of sets them up to get off to a hot start. I think realistically, the best way I see them starting the season is 5-0. And the worst way I see them starting the season is probably 2-3. So their first 5 games, which is where most of those must-win games are, it's going to be very influential on how they do the rest of the season. It's going to be really interesting to see how the Buffs do in 2024. You guys comment below. What is their record going to be in those 4 games against North Dakota State, Nebraska, Colorado State, and then Cincinnati? Comment below. They're 4-0, 3-1, 0-4, 2-2. You guys let me know. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday.